it now, and I ain't never gonna back down.
Welcome to The Rise. I'm Roddy Jones, and I can't wait to talk to our next guest. He's a linebacker out of Cincinnati, a former Boston College Eagle, Carolina Panther, and just all-around good guy, Luke Kuechly. Luke, welcome to The Rise.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
Of course, man, of course. So there's a little history between you and I, Luke, and we have to make our viewers aware of the fact that we actually played in the ACC at the same time. And fortunately for one of us, me, we did not play against each other. So you managed to avoid the triple option in your career. Congratulations.
Absolutely. We didn't. We were talking earlier before we got started. That was the game I came to on my official visit. So I saw the triple option. Yeah. I saw cut blocks by offensive linemen. So I missed them, and then I think we played either Army or Navy the first year I left BC. So I didn't play any triple option. I got quite a bit of it in high school, but that was one of the games that I was both excited for and not excited for at the same time, because tons of run plays, tons of opportunities for tackles, but at the same time, those guys firing off with the cut blocks is a dangerous thing for a linebacker and a defensive lineman. So we missed each other, but we meet now, so it works out.
You were born in Cincinnati. You started playing linebacker, started playing football as a fourth grader. You were a 2-year starter at St. X in Cincinnati. You went on to Boston College, were a linebacker there from 2008 to 2010. You left the ACC with the ACC and Boston College record for tackles in a career. You led the nation, not just the league, the nation in tackles 2 years in a row. Two-time unanimous first-team All-American. You swept the defensive awards as a junior. Your last season at Boston College, you won the Butkus, the Lott, the Lombardi, the Nagurski. You went to the Carolina Panthers, which killed me to see, absolutely, as a Falcons fan. Did not want to see you in the division, but drafted 9th overall in the 2012 draft, 7-time All-Pro, Defensive Rookie of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, the Art Rooney Sportsmanship Award winner, and then finally you were voted to the Football Writers 75th Anniversary second team. So when I read all of that, it's a wow moment for me just reading it, for someone to have that kind of bio, that kind of career so far. What does that bring to your mind?
I just think you work hard as a kid in high school and college and then the NFL, to have success. But I think it ultimately comes down to, at every stage of my career, from when I was in grade school to high school to college to the NFL, there's always been really good people around me. It started with my parents from a young age. Could go on and on about it, but just show me how to do things the right way, how to work hard, how to treat people. And then, in high school, I had great coaches. I had great guys around me. Same thing in college and same thing, and obviously in the NFL with Coach Rivera and, guys like Thomas Davis and Greg Olson and Ryan Khalil and just guys like that when I got there, they showed me how to get it done. They showed me how to work hard. They showed me how to train. They showed me how to be successful in the NFL. And then, on the defensive side of the ball, I think things have always just worked out for me as far as coaches, guys around me, teammates, and in scheme. I think that's one of the big aspects that kind of gets overlooked. You can have, for me, I think I fit really well in what we did. When I was in high school, we ran a defense that worked out for me. In college, we ran a 4-3 and I played inside. And then when I transitioned to Carolina, we were a 4-3 as well. So things looked the same, fits looked the same, angles were all the same. And also playing an inside backer in a 4-3, you got a lot of freedom to get to the ball. You got a lot of freedom in your angles. You're covered up a lot. Just makes it easy to play linebacker. And I think, that's one thing that's helped me out a lot as well, is with addition to the people that have helped me, also the position I've been put in, as a player, and how the defense has lined up for me. So throughout my whole career, I've been very fortunate to be put in good situations.
Yeah, well, you have more than taken advantage of it. There's been a lot of guys be inside 4-3 linebackers, and not many of them, I would say, venture to say none of them will put up the career that you had. But I want to go back to the very beginning, Luke. You mentioned your parents. Talk to me about growing up. You obviously had your parents. You've got 2 brothers growing up in Cincinnati. What was it like in the house?
I think it was, it was great. We had a great atmosphere. My parents came to our games. They were at practices. But I think the biggest thing is you don't get anywhere by yourself. You got to work hard and you got to treat people with respect. And those were the kind of the overarching principles that we had. We had things around the house that we had to do, small little things, but they kind of taught you what's important. We had tons of trees in the backyard with leaves. We had to blow the leaves out. It took forever. But it just showed you what was important. You had a job and you didn't get to do what you wanted to do until you got it done.
Man, it brings back memories. I used to go over to my grandparents' house in Birmingham. They had a pecan tree, and so it would just dump all the nuts on the ground, and we had to clean them out before we could go do anything. So it was quite the chore. I'm right with you there. Okay, so talk to me about your parents. You mentioned the fact that they were hardworking people. Your family owned an auto business, as far as from what I've seen. What was that like, and how did that help form you guys' work ethic?
Yeah, so my grandpa started a mechanic, basically a mechanic shop in the 50s. My dad grew up in the business. My uncle grew up in the business. That was my first job. That was really my only job other than playing football. And my mom was the best. She did everything for the boys, and I think she's the perfect mom. She does everything she can for us, for my two brothers and I, and I think sometimes when you're young you kind of take it for granted, and then you get put on your own. Yeah. When I got to Carolina, it's like, man, this is a lot of work, like breakfast, lunch, dinner, grocery shop, laundry. Like, you don't really appreciate it until you're on your own.
Your brothers, you got two brothers, John and Henry. Were they athletes? Did they get you into sports? What was your relationship with your brothers like growing up?
John was a goalie in lacrosse, and then he played offensive line for the football team. And him and I actually went against each other every day in high school because he was an offensive guard, I was a linebacker. We had a chance to play against each other all the time. So that was a lot of fun. And then Henry, my younger brother, is 7 years younger than me and 8 years younger than John. And Henry is a big basketball player. He played tennis in grade school and obviously basketball in grade school, and then he played basketball in high school for St. Xavier. So all three of us played, and we all enjoyed it. It was fun to have an opportunity to play on the same team as John. I never got a chance to be on the same team as Henry, but we all enjoyed it.
More Luke Kuechly after these messages.
He comes up to me and he says, "Hey, how do you feel about playing linebacker?"
So let's flip to the football side. You started playing football in 4th grade. What got you into playing football?
Always loved it. I always wanted to get into it. My grandpa was a huge football guy. He used to sit in his chair and he'd have the radio on and watch the game at the same time, so he could get kind of different perspectives. And so I always loved the game.
Was he a Bengals fan?
Yeah, Bengals fan and Notre Dame fan.
There you go.
Reds fan. He loved everything Cincinnati. So I always loved the game. The fact that he loved it helped. And 4th grade was the first year. My dad didn't grow up playing football. He was a soccer player. And so there wasn't a big football history in my family. So
you mentioned that you went to St. X, which is one of the powerhouses of football in not just Cincinnati, but all of Ohio. And you're in a great league with Moeller, with Elder. What was it about St. X that had you excited to go there?
Well, so in Cincinnati, a lot of the schools are your dad goes there, your grandpa goes there. There's a lot of lineage in the schools, and my grandpa went to St. X. My uncle went there, my dad went there, my cousin went there, my brother went there, my other cousin, Henry, went there. So there was no choice. When I was growing up, it was always, I'm going to St. X. Like there's no choice in my mind. There's no decision. I'm going to St. X. So that was a pretty easy decision. But I remember getting to St. X and being so excited to be on the football team because, I grew up watching St. X. And I'd been to St. Xavier football camps, and so you meet all the guys, and they always seemed so cool, and like it was during the summer, so they were all in really good shape, and I was like, man, I want to be one of those guys one day. So I remember my freshman year, we go out there for, what was it? It might have been the first day of practice. So the first day of practice was just cleats, shirts, and we went through like drills. I think it was basically they wanted to see what everybody could do. They want to see if everybody's in shape. You kind of got to meet everybody. We had like 120 guys on our freshman football team. And first day, I'm going through everything. I'm doing really good, and I break my foot. I remember going through, we're doing bag drills. I step over a bag and like I feel my foot. I'm like, oh man, that's not good. And I go get it looked at and I broke my foot. So the first day of practice at St. Xavier, I break my foot. So like, this is not good. Man. And so I had to stay in a boot for like 4 or 5 weeks. It wasn't broken. I think it was like a fracture or something, but it was to the point where I couldn't do anything. I had to be in a boot and I was so disappointed. In my sophomore year, I was on the JV team and I started out as a linebacker. Yeah, as a linebacker. And then we had so many good linebackers that year that I got bumped and I played tight end. And
wow.
And I didn't know the playbook at all. Like, because I think we got halfway through training camp, like, all right, you're going to play tight end. I'm like, all right, cool, whatever. And I was like, I don't care. I just want to play. So I remember. What
kind of offense were you guys running? Are you a blocking tight end or are you getting out and catching some passes?
I did a little bit of both. I had a sweet number. I was number 18, so I thought I was sick.
Yeah.
So what happened is I remember I knew a majority of the stuff that happened, but the one tackle, he played offensive tackle. His name was Ryan Long. And he was a tight end that converted to offensive tackle. So we were both in the same boat of like, man, we're playing out of position, but we're just pumped that we're playing. And I remember some of the plays I didn't know. So when they called the play, I would have to walk over to Ryan and be like, hey, what am I doing? And he would tell me like, this is where you need a block. This is who you need a block. But whenever there was a pass play, I knew exactly where I was going. This is what I'm doing. This is what my route is. But anytime we were blocking people, I was like, Ryan, who are we blocking? So that was my sophomore year, but I always knew I wanted to get back on the defensive side of the ball. But I was just like, I'll do whatever. I just want to play. I'm having fun. This is kind of how it's going, whatever. And I remember walking from class to class one day, and Steve Speck, the head football coach, walks up to me, and he's like, hey, how do you feel about playing linebacker again? And like Speck was like the guy. I was scared of him. He was intimidating. I didn't want to have anything to do with him.
He's a legend, right?
He's a legend, yeah. I don't want to mess with him. Like, it's like one of those guys, he walks in, you're like, all right, if I don't look at him, maybe he won't see me. And he comes up to me and he says, hey, how do you feel about playing linebacker? And I was like, oh, yeah, of course. And I just remember when that conversation left, I was like so excited. I'm like, yes, I'm back on the defense side of the ball. And then there was a kid named Michael Holbrook. He played the same position I did. He was a year older than me. And him and I kind of battled in training camp. And I ultimately got the job. We were going to be really good that year. He busted his butt in the offseason. He'd done everything right. And then this young guy comes up and like gets playing time, right? So, you could be bitter about it. You could be upset. He could not like me. But Michael did everything he could to help me out. And whether that was teaching me the playbook, showing me where to line up, I've been in this situation before, try this, not that. When I had a bad game, he'd always help me out and talk me up. So he was a great teacher, he was super unselfish. And I had that in grade school, high school, college, and the NFL. And I was just very fortunate to have guys like Holbrook that helped me out. So
yeah. That's really cool. It's a really cool lesson to have learned. Yeah. And I feel like as great as that is for you to have learned, the story that he now has is even better, because he can say, I was a senior and I was mad that this guy came and replaced me. It ended up being Luke Kuechly. So, not so bad.
Yeah.
So you played a lot, obviously, especially as a junior and a senior. As a junior, you were a linebacker. As a senior, they moved you to safety.
Yeah.
What was that move like?
That's the best position on our defense. So we played a 3-3-5. So obviously 3 defense linemen, 3 linebackers, and then it was basically four DBs, and then the 5th guy was a rover. It was the ultimate position for somebody like me that liked being around the ball, and you didn't get beat up by offensive linemen hardly ever. I mean, every once in a while, but you were clean to the ball. It's like those 6 guys, let those 6 guys go get blocked, and then I'll just run and go make the tackle. So it was called the adjuster. It was the greatest position ever. So
It's a good name too.
The adjuster.
I love that.
Basically, just kind of line up wherever you want and go tackle the ball. So it worked out.
Yeah, I like that. So in high school, you did win a state championship. Mm-hmm. You guys were 15-0 your junior year, won the state championship. What was that like, being able to reach the pinnacle of high school football?
Oh, it was awesome. And that year was so cool. We played on ESPN, played a team from Maryland. We played a team from Indianapolis. We played a team from Kentucky. It was the seniors on that team were sophomores when we won the state championship the first time, I believe. So those guys all had that taste in their mouth of winning a state championship, and that class was stacked. That class that was a senior, that senior year was unbelievable. So that was kind of the approach going into that year, was state championship or bust. But leading up to the Kaufman game, our adjuster, the position that I played my senior year, was probably one of the best players in our defense. He rolled his ankle on like that Tuesday, and he went down, and we were playing Kaufman that had tight ends and receivers, and the quarterback was really good. So we needed Fred to play. And I remember he rolled his ankle and it blew up on him, and everyone's like, oh my gosh, like, what are we gonna do? Fred's not gonna play. But our trainer's name was Mike Gordon. He was the best. Like, he could make anyone better. And basically what happened was, like, Mike went in there with Fred, and we had 4 or 5 days. I think it was 4 days to get better. And, you'd see Fred at school, and you'd like try to see how he was walking, and slowly but surely.
The school papers getting interviews from everybody. Is he gonna play? Is he not?
Slowly but surely, like, the combination of Fred and Mike, they made it happen, and we ended up winning that game in against Kaufman. And Fred made the tackle on like the 3-yard line with, like, I don't know what it was. The clock ran out, but Fred made the big tackle. If they would have scored a touchdown there, they would have won. It was such a fun year for a lot of reasons.
And Tansky going to keep it himself, and he's not going to get it. Kuechly took it away. Luke Kuechly took the ball.
We were really good. We won the state championship, and but all the little things that happened throughout the year were what made it fun. The energy in the school, and the energy. We had pep rallies before we played big games, and you don't so much think about the games and times you had in the games. It was more stuff that happened off the field that made it special. And as long as you have a good team, it doesn't matter really what your record is. If you guys can have fun playing the game, that's really what's important.
Coming up, Luke's college decision.
So when like Ohio State didn't offer, I was like, yeah, I wouldn't have offered me either.
Well, let's move on to your recruiting experience, because correct me if I'm wrong, but you were a 3-star guy that was seen as a little bit of a tweener. So despite being in Ohio and your family, at least, I don't know if you grew up a Notre Dame fan, but your family being a Notre Dame fans, at least your grandfather, Notre Dame didn't come calling, Ohio State didn't come calling. What was recruiting like for you?
I would have. If I was Notre Dame, I wouldn't have recruited me either. They had a couple other guys. By the time I kind of came onto the scene, they already had recruited a bunch of guys in my class that, if I was them, I would have recruited them 1,000 times over me. So I think I grew late. I don't know, like the Ohio State, my mindset when I was in high school was probably not a great mindset. I was like, man, I wouldn't play there. I'm not going to play there. So. Which probably wasn't a great mindset to have. I was like, I'll go somewhere else. So when like Ohio State didn't offer, I was like, I wouldn't have offered me either. So I didn't really, honestly, I really wasn't that upset. I was like, because I just knew the guys that they recruited. And I think the thing that worked out for me with the guys at BC was the fact that, there's such a BC pipeline, or St. Xavier pipeline to BC. We've had somebody at BC playing football from St. Xavier for probably the last 25 years in overlap. So I think the thing that helped me a lot with BC specifically was there was a guy named Alex Albright there and Nick Larkin. So Nick, I never played with Nick. He was gone, but Alex was still there. I played with Alex for 2 years. When I spoke with Alex, he understood where I came from, where I went to high school, what Cincinnati was like, and he was very honest with me, and I felt like I got a really good perspective from him on what to expect, what it's like here, what school's like, what the guys are like. And the other thing that was really good was his parents are big BC people too, and they were great with my parents. So I had Alex, my parents had Mr. and Mrs. Albright, and it really helped with the recruiting process. And I went up on a visit. Alex was great. He showed me everything, and he told me, he's like, hey, if you come up here, I'll do everything I can to help you out. I'll show you where to go. I'll show you what to do.
That's awesome.
I'll talk you through things. I'll teach you the defense. And, I looked at, Stanford was a big one I looked at. Virginia was a big one I looked at. And Duke was a big one I looked at. But I didn't get the same feel that I got up at BC. I think a lot of it was because of Alex. And shared experiences, shared prior experiences, understanding where we both came from. That was a big factor in my decision. And the recruiting, I think back when I was playing in high school, there's only certain windows when recruiters could call you. So I don't think they were really
and that was at the time where where you couldn't even text the kids.
Yeah,
like
you can't text
it cost 25 cents a text message, so they couldn't text you.
Yeah, and I don't even know if they were allowed to. And I think that helped me a lot too, because that would have driven me crazy. I would have loved to have an offer from Notre Dame and Ohio State just to, say I did. And at the end of the day, obviously that doesn't really matter that much. But I think it would have been cool to say you had an opportunity to go to Notre Dame or Ohio State. But at the end of the day, BC was awesome. And I probably would have picked BC again, even if I would have had an offer from those schools as well.
Luke's life on the heights at Boston College when we return.
These guys were big, strong, athletic, and I was like fresh meat.
All right, Luke. So going to BC obviously was a great decision for you. It was great for BC, and a lot of that had to do with the fact that you played early. Some guys got dinged up. You got thrust into the lineup. What was it like leading up to that year as guys are going down and you keep moving up the depth chart?
Well, I think, you go in as a young guy and you kind of look at the depth chart and you understand that, these guys have played in the past. These guys are established starters or older guys that get it. So you go in the mindset of, I'm going to work as hard as I can. I'm going to learn as much as I can. And, maybe I can get some special teams reps and get some, and if there's like a blowout, I can sneak in and play. I remember it was the first week of training camp. We had just been installing stuff. We were playing a base defense, and we were running an inside run drill, and there was the older guys who were in one group kind of off on their own. And I was in the young guy group, and it was basically all the freshmen and then some of the sophomores that were either injured the year before or hadn't played a lot, that were still kind of in a developmental phase. And we ran a play in our little field, and then the whistle blew and somebody called my name from the other field. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, what did I do now? And there's no way they're calling me over to play over here. But one of the guys hurt his shoulder, so they needed a body. So I had to go run over there and play with the older guys. And it was a rough day. A rough day. It was like the period was like, we had like 5 more plays in the period. So it wasn't like a lot, but it was all inside runs. So power, lead, counter, gap scheme runs, just getting blasted. And I remember the old guys that were over there. I'd never seen
those 5 plays probably felt like 5 hours.
Oh my gosh! And these guys are so big. Like when you play a guy in high school, he's 300 pounds. Like that's a big offensive lineman. He's sloppy and he's not real strong, but he's big, right? Then you get in with these guys. They were like, one of the guys was a 5th-year senior. The other guy got drafted by the Saints. The other guy was a guy that was a first-round pick by the Colts. Like, I remember get over there. And these guys are like 315.
I didn't realize Costanzo was still on that team.
Yeah, so he was there. So he got drafted my sophomore. So he was there. And they were these guys were big, strong, athletic, and they knew what they were doing. And I was like fresh meat. And so it was like, it's like they called a play to this side so this guy could hit me. They called a play to the other side so that guy could hit me. It was like I was like a punching bag. And I just remember being like, oh my gosh, like, what am I doing here? And so then as time goes on, you just kind of get used to the speed of the game. And you go from being like, hey, I'm I'm just going to play on special teams to 3 or 4 guys get hurt, 5 guys get hurt, and just by the luck of the draw, you get thrown in there. And I had so much fun. We played Northeastern game 1, Kent State game 2, and then game 3 was Clemson in Death Valley. And it was unbelievable.
That was a CJ Spiller Clemson team.
Spiller.
I know that team well.
What was it? Jacoby Ford, Daquan Bowers.
Kyle Parker was the quarterback. Daquan Bowers.
They had another defensive end. Andre, was it Branch maybe?
Yeah,
I don't know. They had some.
That sounds right. Brandon Thompson was on that team.
They had
DeAndre
dudes that I
McDaniel.
never.
We played that team twice that year.
Yeah, I'd never seen dudes like that in my life. In Clemson, was like 100,000 people. It explodes when they run down the hill. Oh my gosh, CJ Spiller caught a punt and housed it. I'd never been anywhere that loud in my life. And I just remember thinking, like, man, I don't care where I got to play. I'll play anywhere on the defense. I just want to be on the field and play.
Pass with an empty backfield, and he'll take a sack back in Virginia territory. Luke Kuechly again.
So I played inside the first 3, and then I played will linebacker for the last 8 games, and it was, man, I had so much fun, and it was a blast. And Will to me was awesome because I was a young guy. They were so worried about blocking Mac and our big guys up front that I just kind of ran around and was able to tackle guys. But it was and
you didn't have to set the fronts. You didn't have to. It took a lot off your plate going to Will.
I didn't have to do anything. It was great. Just line up here and hammer everything back and run to the ball. So it was fantastic. I loved it.
How Luke became the best defensive player in college football next.
Toughest guys to play against, man. Sammy Watkins, DeAndre Hopkins, Tyrod Taylor was really good.
Your sophomore and junior years, you're an All-American. By the time you're a junior, everybody knows who you are. You're winning all these awards. How much did life change, and how quickly did it change from freshman year where you're in and out of the lineup, playing a lot towards the end, just having a lot of fun, to by the end of sophomore year, everybody knows who number 40 for Boston College is?
Honestly, it didn't change a whole lot from them. I remember, the biggest thing that changed, I was slipped from outside to inside, so that was a little bit of a big deal. I didn't really want to come play inside because I was very comfortable outside. I was like, man, I'm playing well. I'm good here. I got a good feel.
Left in this first half. Danny O'Brien throws it away. It's Kuechly. Here comes the human tackle machine. This is going nowhere. Kuechly blows it up in the backfield.
Boone on the carry, and he is hit. Guess who?
Now they chase him out of the pocket, and it's intercepted. Kuechly makes the interception with 1.
At the 4, and Pickett is hammered. That is Luke Kuechly on special teams.
There are no surprises.
Coulter. Picked off by Kuechly, and Kuechly may take it into the house. Cuts right, stiff arm, and just short of the goal line.
Once I was a junior, and the last 4 or 5 games of the season, things changed a little bit in the sense of you got to figure out what you're going to do, right? Are you going to stay? Are you going to leave? Because the combine's in February, and you can't wait too long before you make a decision, because obviously you have to make sure that you train for the combine and you're in shape. So that last few games of the season were kind of like, all right, what am I going to do? Am I going to stay? Am I going to go? My dad helped me out a lot with it, of bringing good and bad to each side of the conversation of, if you stay, this is what you're going to have. If you go, this is what you're going to have. So that changed a little bit. But for the most part, how I was treated, how I viewed things, how people treated me was all pretty much the same.
Yeah. All right, so before we move on to the draft, I want to ask you one final BC question. Give me your favorite BC memory, and then secondly, the toughest guy to play against, because you played against some good ones. I mean, Russell Wilson is in the league at that time. David Wilson at Virginia Tech was in the league at that time. We already talked about C.J. Spiller. We didn't even get to the Florida State guys that were down there. So give me your favorite memory. Yeah, exactly. Give me your favorite memory, and then the toughest player you played against in college.
Ooh. I thought that last game, we played Miami, last game of my junior season. You know, we had a tough season. We didn't have the greatest record, but we had a tough group of guys that never quit. We worked hard, we were tough, we were physical.
Miller loses ground. Kuechly with the tackle. Dragged down by Kuechly. Shy of the 5. Kuechly, another tackle for the All-American. Intercepted. Kuechly. And Kuechly with the stiff arm. Kuechly still on his feet. Touchdown, Kuechly. You are Superman, Luke.
We didn't always make enough plays to win games, but we never quit. And I think that last game of that season, it was really my last game at BC. In the back of my mind, I kind of knew it. We went down to Miami, and we won decisively, and my family was there. I had a couple aunts and uncles there. I think my grandmas were there. It was a great way to end my career at BC. Toughest guys to play against, man. What was his name? Ryan. You remember Ryan Williams, the Virginia Tech running back?
Yeah, from Virginia Tech. He was an incredible running back.
He was really good. Tyrod Taylor was really good. Russ obviously was really good. I mean, they were the dudes at Clemson. I mean, when I played Clemson, they had Sammy Watkins, DeAndre Hopkins,
Martavis Bryant was on that team.
Ford. Yeah, yep. They were stacked. They had dudes everywhere. David Wilson was so good. I mean, the ACC is stacked and was stacked, and there were just tons of good players everywhere.
Yeah, that Clemson team. Andre Ellington was the running back.
Oh my gosh, he was so good.
Chad Morris teams. Yeah.
You just kind of go through those rosters, and they had everybody.
Luke's rise to be a perennial All-Pro next.
I was put in a very good situation from the day I got to Carolina to allow me to succeed.
Okay, so let's move on to the draft. You're leading up to the draft. You know, all the mocks are coming out, and they've got you at various places in the first round and top 15 picks. But you get picked 9th by Carolina. The first thing I want to ask is, take me into the decision not to go to New York. So many of those guys, so many people would jump at that opportunity to go shake the commissioner's hand on the stage. You decided to take in draft night in Cincinnati with your family. What went into that decision, and why did you decide to share it with the people that have been around you the whole time?
I think that there was so much traveling going on for the draft. You go to visits, you go to medical stuff. There's so much traveling going on, but that by the time the draft rolled around, you're just like, I don't want to go anywhere. I just want to stay at home, and I want to sleep in my own bed, and I want to hang out on draft day. I remember I woke up, my buddies came in town, we played wiffle ball, my mom and dad made a bunch of food for everybody, and I got to sit in my basement. At the end of the night, I got to sleep in my bed.
Yeah. The fact that you went 9 to Carolina, were you expected to go? Was that what you were hearing? Or how did the night unfold for you?
So I took a visit down to Carolina in the pre-draft process. So I came down here, I visited with the coaches, and had a day in Carolina, and I thought it went well. So, I was like, man, maybe they need somebody, but I wasn't really anticipating it because, they had a bunch of guys on the roster that were really good, Beeson and Thomas and James, and they had some guys, Beeson and Thomas were coming off injuries, but I'm like, they'll be fine. So I honestly didn't really know what to expect. I think, the first 6 or 7 picks you've got pretty dialed in, from Andrew Luck to RG3 to Matt Khalil to Trent Richardson and Blackman and Morris Claiborne.
Yeah, I've got the name. You've almost named them exactly. It's Andrew
Tannehill
Luck, Robert Griffin, Trent Richardson. Yeah. Matt Khalil,
Yep.
Justin Blackman, Morris Claiborne, Mark Barron, Ryan Tannehill.
Yep.
You nailed it.
Yeah, so those guys were all pretty much slotted. You kind of knew that going into the draft. And by the time Carolina got there, I remember when Miami was on the clock that said pick is in or something. I got a call from a 704 number. And I was like, well, 704 is not that area. This is Charlotte, because I knew the numbers that had called me when I was setting that visit up were 704. So I answered and it said, hey, this is Carolina. Miami is going to draft Tannehill. We're going to draft you. And I guess there was a little bit of a delay on the TV or whatever, but that's kind of how it went down. I remember sitting there, you're like on your phone, you're staring, like waiting for somebody to call you. And that number popped up, and it was cool. I mean, I honestly don't even remember who called me. I'd imagine it would have been Marty, because Marty was the GM back then, and he, I'm sure it was him. But you talked to like 3 or 4 different people. So you talked to whoever talked to me first, whoever talked to me second. Then I talked to our operations guy, and he said, hey, we can get you on a flight, blah, blah, blah. And there was so much going on that I don't even remember the conversation. But I just knew that Carolina said they're going to draft me, and then Tannehill comes across the ticker, and then when Carolina comes up, then they put my name up there, so it was cool.
So when you get drafted, you go to the league. You're whisked away the day after to do the media tour, and obviously there's a big adjustment on the field, but off the field, you're a first-round pick going to Carolina. There's a lot of expectations heaped upon you. What was the biggest adjustment in your rookie season off the field, going to Carolina as the guy they picked with the 9th overall pick?
I think everything is on your own now. You got to learn how to pay rent. You got a car payment. You've got a grocery shop. You've got to, you got to drive your car everywhere now. You got to figure out where everything is. Where do I go to get my dry cleaning? Where do I grocery shop? What are the restaurants? Like, everything is brand new, because in college, I lived on campus for 3 years, and in the dorm apartment style places they had. So everything we had was meal plans. So we just went to we went to the dining halls and just
swipe the card.
Yeah, swipe the card and you're good. It's like free money. And you wore your sweats around all day. You threw all the stuff. You threw stuff in the loop. The loop in college.
And then
all your laundry
the loop came back.
Yeah, everything's clean. Like, you don't worry about anything. You don't worry about paying anything. You don't worry about you don't worry about any of that stuff, because you don't have to. And we were in a great situation that we didn't have to really worry about that, because school took care of everything. All you had to do is go to school and go to football. And then you get to, the NFL, and it's just like anybody else that goes from college to a new job. Everything's brand new. New city, new team, new playbook. So I think just moving to a new city, being out of your comfort zone, trying to figure out how to live your everyday life was probably the biggest, obviously the biggest thing, moving to a different city. So
you were the defensive rookie of the year, your rookie year. Second year, you're the defensive player of the year. Those first 2 years on the field, obviously a lot of success. What was it like winning those 2 awards?
Oh, I think it was, it was awesome. And I think, those individual awards are great, but when you really look at it, there's a lot of reasons why you win those awards. And I think a lot of it has to do with the environment you're in, the guys that you're around. I felt like in our defense, they set the defense up for Thomas and I to have success. Going into my second year, we drafted a defensive lineman in the first and second round, and that were really good. Star, Lotulele, he's in Buffalo now, and then K1 Short that played for us and was a really disruptive interior guy. We were just set up for success, and it was a cool individual award, but you don't win that stuff by yourself. And that's why I think football is the ultimate team game, is you don't do anything by yourself. And they're cool. It's cool to get those honors. It's something I take a lot of pride in, but I was put in a very good situation from the day I got to Carolina to allow me to succeed.
No kidding. Do you have a guy in the league, let's say a quarterback, that you enjoyed matching wits against the most?
I mean, Drew. I mean, we played against him twice every year.
Yeah.
I think what he was in the same offense basically his whole career. I mean, other than time in San Diego, but once he got to New Orleans, it's basically the same. And he knew our defense just because we ran relatively the same defense. So he knew us, we knew them, and he is so smart and he's so calm, and he's able to get them in and out of things. He can see blitzes. He understands rotation. He's really good at protection alignments and sliding guys where they need to be. The dude's legit. I mean, you could talk about him all day, about his preparation and he's so technical, and he's so by the book, and he's so smart, and he sees things so quickly, and his recall is fantastic. He's just so good, man.
All right, last one about the career. Give me your favorite play of your career. You played a lot of snaps, a lot of them really good, but if I said you got to take one play and show it to someone who's never seen you play, which one are you pulling out?
I think everybody would gravitate towards like an interception, or the one that was cool was when we played
Pick six, baby.
In the
Pick
Super
six,
Bowl,
baby.
In the Super Bowl, when we played Denver, it was backed up. They ran like a screen pass to Demaryius Thomas, and I was able to hit him and deflect the ball. But it was one of those plays where I was watching tape during the week, and I had this. I'm like, all right, this is a play they run, backed up, 3rd and 10 plus. It's kind of a get out of jail free card. It's safe, but it's going to get you some yardage. They lined up in it, same formation, same area on the field, same down and distance, same kind of motion. And once I saw it, I'm like, boom, this is it. Like, and that whole situation was like a perfect storm.
Coming up, life after the NFL for Luke.
You've given it everything you've got, and there comes a point when, you got to listen to yourself, you got to listen to your body.
Now, your career, as it progressed, as decorated as it was, it ended early. Mm-hmm. So going to the end of your career and just the decision to have to call it quits with football, how tough was it to say goodbye to the game?
Yeah, I mean, I love the game of football. I love everything that's brought to me, the relationships, the experiences, the opportunities I've had, the people I've met. But I think at some point, you've given it everything you've got, and there comes a point when, you got to listen to yourself, you got to listen to your body, and your mind might say, I still want to play, but if your body doesn't, I think you got to understand that, you got a long life to live, and understand that, as you age and get older, you want to be able to do the things you want to do. And ultimately, that's kind of what the decision came down to.
Well, Luke, now that your career is over, obviously there's probably a lot of football people calling you for either jobs in coaching or scouting or maybe even on this side in the media. But what's going on with you nowadays? I've seen that you're hunting, you're fishing, you're spending time. What's going on with Luke Kuechly now that he's out of the game?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure it out. I spent last year with the team in the scouting department. It was a lot of fun. I learned a lot. But there's been some things that I've always wanted to do that, that occur in the fall, being with my family and my brothers, and, fishing and going on a couple hunting trips. And so that's what I'm going to do right now for the fall. And then once fall ends and things kind of clear up a little bit, then we'll kind of figure out what we want to do. So I'm not sure what it is yet, but I will, I'm trying to figure that out right now.
Well, hey man, you're still young, so you got plenty of time, and those opportunities will be there. Enjoy that time. It's amazing when you have a free fall how much stuff you can get done.
Oh yeah, there's like unlimited time to get stuff done.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Luke. Last thing, man. We talked about it a little bit at the beginning, but as a kid in Cincinnati, growing up, if I'd have told you that you were going to go on to not only play for a high school that your family went to, win a state championship, but go to Boston College, become a 2-time All-American, leave as the all-time leader in tackles, win a number of national individual awards, be a first-round pick for the Carolina Panthers, a Rookie of the Year, 2-time Defensive Player of the Year, multiple-time All-Pro, and be able to retire on your own terms when you decide. what would you say? What would you say to that kid? Like, when you look at that journey, what does it make you think about?
I probably would have laughed, just thinking like, no way that happens. But I think, I think if you have a mindset of what you want to accomplish, and you have a good situation, and you just work hard, and you value what's important to you. If you only got a certain amount of time to do stuff during the day and during your life. I think if there's something you want and you value it, you got to work hard to achieve it. And there's a lot that goes into. There's a recipe for it, but I think the one thing that you can control is how you approach things, your mindset, how hard you work, and your effort and how you treat people. And I think that's the biggest thing, is you can control what you can control. And the moment you start worrying about other things, I think that's where you start going wrong, and you start wasting time on things that don't matter. So I think for me is I always wanted to play football. I always wanted to play it at a high level, and I understood that the things I can control, if I can do those the best I can, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, well, you did it the best you can, and it turned out extremely well, Luke. This was a lot of fun to catch up,
cool.
To hear about your story,
to
hear some of the stories that you had, and some of the lessons. There's a ton of great lessons for young players, for young athletes, and for just people in general, and how to approach things and how to reach success. So, Luke, I really appreciate your time. Thanks, man, for joining us.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Be sure to check out more Rise shows and also other original programming and memorable games on Origin Sports. This has been The Rise. I'm Roddy Jones. That's Luke Kuechly. Thank you guys for joining us.